finally realized my husband just doesn't like me that much. We were driving home from dinner with my family, which he had a horrible attitude throughout. Normal for him. He was venting about his job, talking about how hard he works to make bigger paychecks, getting there early, working through lunch, etc. I gently reminded him he doesn't need to do that. We have more money than we need. And he said, I like to set personal goals for myself to reach. Man, it just hit me. If he wanted to, he would. I have been begging for the tiniest morsels of effort and affection, and he just doesn't care to do so. It's not that he's incapable or needs another excuse given to him. He just simply does not care enough. That fucking sucks. Edit. I never thought this would get this much attention. Really was just throwing it out there in the void. Thank you to everyone offering genuine advice and support. To the men who have taken issue with this post, genuinely look at yourself and ask why. There are zero generalizations about men made and, honestly, very little info given at all. Do you just not like women? Worth some introspection. Edit 2. I've talked to him bluntly and directly about my wants needs many times over the years. I have no problem with him working hard or setting goals for himself. I have a career of my own. What finally hit is that he is willing to put in hard work for things he cares about. And it seems I fall outside of that scope. Some of you have created wild backstories based on 2 paragraphs. I'm trying to end an abusive relationship, and he's trying to stop me. But I keep thinking why. Usually when he was home he acted like he loathed us, that we annoyed him, and he resented me and the kids. What he did aren't things a person who loves someone does to that person. But he'd become enraged if I suggested that. Like you. Op. I can't fail to notice that he doesn't treat coworkers, bosses, or friends like that. It's a choice. One I'll never understand. If he wanted to, he would. This phrase has helped me so much in dropping shitty relationships and emotional baggage. It was what dawned on me too. Realizing that if my ex treated anyone else the way he treated me, he'd be fired and friendless 100x over. It wasn't that he couldn't do it. He just wouldn't do it when it came to me. Asking for affection is disheartening for sure. I recently told my husband I needed more affection from him. He found it upsetting. It took me so long to realize and believe that I deserved better than my ex-husband. I deserved to be with someone who likes me and shows it. Whose emotions I don't have to constantly manage. Who supports me instead of just expecting my support. Once you realize that, you can start to change your life. You only get one life, and it's too short to spend it with someone who doesn't enhance it. I always say, people will show you who they are and what they think. You just have to see it for what it is. Here is a secret that I learned from this sub: men always know better. They just refuse to do so. Men are more than capable to meet your expectations. They just don't care. I was in a relationship for 7 years with someone who didn't like talking to me and didn't want to hang out with me. He poured himself into work but not into me. I feel you. When it finally ended and I started dating the man who is now my fiancé, I realized the huge difference in how he treated me. I felt loved, appreciated, valued. I hope you find that. One day, after yet another squabble about whatever, it dawned on me that it was statistically impossible for me to be wrong every single time. It was like a light went off, and in my mind the beginning of the end had arrived. My boss met a woman via Bumble who is from a different continent and travels a lot. He makes everything possible to see her. Goes to her home country with her. Meets her parents. Flies many hours to see her and tries to accommodate her in every way once she's in our country. You shouldn't beg for a morsel of affection. He should give it willingly. You deserve more. My husband was like this. He expressed contempt all the time. It took me way too long to realize I must not take it personally. It is his issue. There is nothing wrong with me. I'm a normal person and I try to stay conscious of my own issues and I go to therapy when I need to, etc. I finally realized that I was not doing anything at all to deserve such animosity from him. Then I started to notice he pretty much hated everyone and everything. This realization was what made me finally bite the bullet and chuck him out. Divorce is due soon. He's sitting in the living room having come round to see the kids on his weekly visit. He decided on that. Not me. He'd be welcome to more if he wanted. And I just feel anxious about how long he's staying. Not sad. Not longing. None of that. It was like that realization made me understand. I didn't like him that much either. It's not just that he doesn't like you. It's that he sees you as an accomplishment he has already attained. Then he moved on. He sets goals for himself that are attainable to make himself feel capable and to feed the fragile ego. He won't set goals for himself he might fail at, like having a happy home and marriage, because he knows there's something missing from him that can't make that happen. Yes. Pretty profound that he sets personal goals for himself and his relationship with you is not one of them. My husband tells me how many guys at work stay late to avoid going home. They're open about it. When we drive by a guy in his garage on the weekends, he talks about how they're just avoiding their families, not 100 valid, but I get the sentiment. He calls them the garage husbands. I don't like it because you do, and that was it. That was when the relationship ended. Yet people blamed me for leaving. I had a husband like that. You're worth more than morsels and deserve someone who adores you and prioritizes loving you. This whole thread is kind of sad and vindicating to see so many people going through the same thing. I would ask for months for a shred of affection. For him to say I love you. He would grumble and say he can't do now because it would feel forced, or that he doesn't say soft stuff like that, but he feels it. Then I started paying attention when he was on his phone. Every time he ended a phone call with a family member, he said I love you first, said to his mom, his dad, his brothers, his adult niece, and his sister-in-law. Really made me understand the phrase if he wanted to, he would. They can't be bothered. Mom used to say this to me about husbands. Often. Men always try for what they want. I learned that when my ex-boyfriend, whom I dated for 2.5 years, married the girl he met right after me after dating 1.5 years. He had every excuse with me. Yup. He doesn't love you, nor is he attracted to you. He's with you because he's too lazy to find someone new and scared he won't find any better. You're like the job he's venting about. Sorry to be so blunt. It's not knock against you. Leave his ass now. It's never too late. Been there. I'm single now and don't miss him one bit. Oh, the good old bare minimum. I think a lot of men really don't even like women. They tolerate us because society tells them that's what's expected, or they use us to fill a void. But they don't really like us. Yes, so much of my marriage to my ex was me managing his emotions. His life for him. Once I realized he didn't want a wife and he just wanted a mom he could bang. It was a whole new world for me.